Hi, and welcome to the 91 Day Success Podcast. I'm Jonathan, your host, and today I've got with me Kyle Sabraw from SED, or Search Engine Domination Society. And Kyle is a brilliant SEO guy, and I am so thrilled to have him here as both an agency owner and an SEO expert. Kyle, if you would, for people that may not be familiar with SED and you and Peter, could you give just a little bit of a background on yourself and give everybody a short kind of elevator introduction?
Yeah, so my name is Kyle Sabraw. I'm one of the co-founders of Search Engine Domination, my buddy Peter Wilson. And what we do is we really focus on helping agency owners expand offering by offering white label SEO, PPC, and social marketing. Essentially, what we do is we leverage our years. We've got over a quarter century in doing this between us. We really lend our expertise to help other agency owners better serve their clients and build their businesses. And we do that with our white label services.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you doing that. So you and I've talked a little bit prior, and obviously you and I've talked a number of times prior to this. It's not our first conversation, but talk to me a little bit about what caused you to get into this world. A little bit about your background and SEO in particular, and you're an absolute guru when it comes to SEO stuff, but it's a bit of a journey. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started in SEO and how that led to you and Peter starting the agency?
Yeah, so to go way back to the beginning, I was super lucky that my third and fourth grade teachers were like the IT people for our district, Mrs. Berkman and Mrs. Litsky. And the first tutor was in third grade, and then we got hooked up to the internet. In fourth grade, we learned about search engines and email, and just kind of snowballed from there. I built my first website in '97. Around that time, I started noticing some of the other websites had all these like 2-point font words at the beginning of a page or at the end of a page, white words on white background, and it struck me one day. It was like, oh, they're trying to optimize for Yahoo. This is the words they're trying to show up for in the search engines. And that's when I started really thinking about SEO. So I started building websites and monetized my first one in high school. After that, I knew college wasn't for me. So I just got to work, started doing things like affiliate marketing, had blogs and stuff. And then I fell into local SEO at a certain point. Just kind of back. I started an agency. That didn't work well the first go around just because I was new and I made a lot of mistakes. Ended up joining one of my clients. They up and fired me one day after increasing their leads 66% in just a couple of years. And so I called up my buddy Peter and said, "Hey Peter, we're doing this. Let's start an agency." And that was in the beginning of 2022, and we just kind of never looked back.
I love it. What a great story and a great way to take advantage of a situation that kind of confronts you and run with it and use that expertise. I know as an agency, I think we've all been through that where we're having great luck for a client and then they decide they're going to change direction or just don't need us. And I love how you jumped in and ran with that and took those skills. So SEO, I know, is a constantly changing environment. And you've been involved in it, obviously, for a long time. There's very few people I talk to that started back in the 90s. I always claim I sold my first website in 1995. And you're one of the few that I've talked to that was in that at the same time, although I think I've got you beat on age by a bit. But talk to me just a little bit about some of the changes you've seen, Kyle, over the last, 10, 15 years in SEO. And I guess I'll preface this. I've always contended that SEO changes a lot, but it also stays the same, meaning that Google, since they came out at least, has always been looking to provide the best result or the best website for the query that's being entered. So that's always been kind of a constant in my mind. I'd love your opinion on that and maybe some of the changes that you've seen happen, including the current helpful content update that I understand is rolling out now, and what that means to business owners and people like that.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. Okay, so when I first started, there was you had Dogpile, Lycos, Yahoo, Google. I didn't really start using until I was in high school back in the early 2000s. Back when it was really rudimentary, basically just looking at keywords on a page, which is why it was so easy to game Yahoo back then. Then Google comes out rank, which measures what was, really groundbreaking for the time, the backlinks going to a page as a way to measure authority. So that was the first major size shift in SEO. Later on, that obviously got spammed to death, and I'm sure you remember, you could write a page with 300 words, shoot 10,000 links to it, and be ranking number one in a week. The good old days. You used to make a lot of money with
Yes.
affiliate marketing doing that. Yeah. So after a while, Google really got with that, and when we started seeing things like RankBrain come out, and Google looking really more at the context of the page rather than just keyword density and how many links it has, that's when really kicked into high gear, and what I like to call the modern era of SEO. Start seeing the birth of semantics being important rather than the sheer number of links a page has, right? Which has been good and bad. It's been good in that the SEO industry really has been elevated. It's no longer just guys selling links or guys with automated software who are going to shoot, like you said, 10,000 links to a page and call it. Really, it's forced SEOs like us to really think about the content that we're writing, and not just try to write 200 words to get a page ranked so we can sell ad space. I really do think it's made for a better internet, and also not just for users, but for business owners too. It's really kind of separated the wheat from the chaff as far as SEO agencies and other stuff, and also business owners who actually have the expertise and want to try helping their clients or customers rather than just selling as much ad space as they can. Right?
Absolutely.
And this helpful content is, again, another seismic shift to where it's no longer you can scrape and spin a page and keep the keywords on there and be ranking. Now you actually have to actively try to help your readers and provide information gain. What's the return on their time by reading your page? If they're not learning something new, right? If it's the same thing as everybody else, then there really is no gain for that reader in reading it. So why would you be on the first page of Google? Why would Google rank you there? So again, this is these past few helpful content updates have really forced us to really think about what kind of information and how are we helping improve other people's lives rather than just trying to pump out content with a certain keyword density and certain entities and stuff like that. So I really do think it's helped, again, not just SEOs, but the internet as a whole.
I like the way you describe the content for helpful content about really, you and I being in the agency world, you obviously much more involved in SEO than I am, but I've read and seen tons of videos. If we go to YouTube, you can find tons of videos going, hey, just go find the number 1, 2, and 3 ranked article, copy their H2s, go ahead and rewrite the article, and you're going to rank number 1. And
Right.
I've never heard it described the way you did. It makes so much sense that Google's determined that 17 articles that say the exact same thing really aren't helpful. At least
Mm-hmm.
the 2nd through 17th aren't. And it makes sense that they're looking for that unique, helpful content. Obviously, not everything is going to be entirely unique because there's only so much you can say about some topics. But the way in which you say it, the way in which that's organized, I can imagine, makes a ton of difference as that goes through. I really appreciate that. That's insightful from my perspective. Let me ask you, Kyle, there's changes all the time. How do you, as someone who's been described, and I would agree with this, by the way, as an SEO master, how do you stay up to date on the changes, and how do you determine what that means for your clients that you're helping rank their websites?
So one of the things I tell people when I'm talking to business owners or other people who are looking at getting into the SEO agency, whether they're looking for somebody to engage with on their SEO or they're just looking to learn from somebody, if the person you're talking to isn't doing their own testing, then they really aren't keeping ahead of all the updates. Because if you're not testing, then you're relying on other people's, what they're saying. It's all hearsay, secondhand information. So really what I do, and what I encourage everybody who either is in SEO or is looking to engage with an SEO company is to do your own testing. I have a few dozen websites that I'm currently running tests on. I'm in a few different groups where we're all testing and sharing information. And really, you can't trust wholesale what Google says, because if they just told you what was happening and what was going on, they would lose their competitive edge, right? So Google
Makes
will give you
sense.
part of the information. You kind of got to fill in the gaps yourself, which is where it's really, really important to be doing your own testing. Like I said, I've got a few dozen websites that I'm constantly testing on every single day. I'm telling my team, hey, here's what's going on with this test. Here's how it's running. Here's what's going on with this test. But I think what's equally as important is having a community of people that you can talk to, bounce ideas off of, and being a part of if not private testing groups, then maybe other ones, public ones like IMG or what Josh Paczynski is doing, being part of their groups is going to really elevate your game and keep you ahead of any sort of algorithm earthquakes or changes or anything like that. And that really separates the good SEOs from just the mid SEOs.
That makes a ton of sense. I saw in this is something you and I didn't talk about, what was on your LinkedIn profile, and bear with me, I'm pressing the wrong buttons here to switch cameras. Guess we're going to go back to the mouse. But you, in addition to your expertise in SEO, I saw that you're endorsed by social media marketing, or for social media marketing and for inbound marketing. How do those relate to SEO in your mind, Kyle? And why are those also important considerations? I know a lot of SEO guys I know, they're like, yeah, we don't worry about any of that. We're just about keywords. How do you find that social media and inbound marketing relate back to SEO?
it's well, what we're doing isn't just SEO. We're not just trying to put keywords on a page. We're trying to market. At the core of what we do, we are marketers. We are trying to help our clients get more leads, more business so they can feed their families. And I see it as SEO is what I feel I have an expertise in, and that's what I focus on, but that's part of a larger marketing ecosystem. So having paid ads in there, having social media marketing, getting your inbound marketing on point is just as important as trying to figure out what keywords to rank for. We had talked about this earlier too, and last year, really about a year and a half ago now, I started realizing and noticing that websites and businesses that had a robust social media presence were starting to get more rewarded faster in the search results. And then, so that's when I really started learning about social media and how we could better fit it into our SEO campaigns. Then Google came out with Perspectives, which is we're now looking at things like forums, press releases, to really kind of find out not just about keywords, but also about businesses and people. And we've talked about before to where I started really hammering Reddit. And Reddit is a social media platform where people just post links, talk about news, their hobbies and stuff like that. And Reddit got hugely rewarded in this last update, something like a 300% visibility increase. So by using that as part of our SEO campaigns, we were able to not just rank these, Reddit threads and posts and stuff, but get visibility for our clients, get them clicks from Reddit, right? And that's not really what traditionally we think about as SEO, but it still worked because we were still getting that. It was a social media platform, but we're still getting that ranked on Google and still using that as part of our customer journey, which leads to inbound marketing too. You can rank all the keywords you want, but the inbound marketing won't be there if people don't trust you. So having your social media out there, building out your own credibility, building out the quote unquote EEAT for your business, experience, expertise, authority, and trust is a part of SEO, but heavily affects inbound marketing. Because if somebody clicks on your page but doesn't trust you, you've got your SEO done, but you're not getting the leads, right? Or if somebody searches for a keyword, finds your page, clicks on it, and fills out a form, but you have nowhere to contact them, well, then your SEO worked, but your inbound marketing isn't getting anywhere, right? So
Makes
that's one
perfect
thing
sense.
that's one thing we also try to help our clients out with. We tell them, we can get you all the leads you want, but unless you have this system set up, you're not going to be getting the ROI that you want.
Makes sense. So talk to me a little bit, if a business owner is out there and they're hearing what you're saying, they're okay, I get this, I like this, this makes a lot of sense. And again, one of the things I really fell in love with when I've gotten to know you a little bit, and Peter as well, was the fact that you guys weren't just about keyword ranking. You were looking at the whole picture. In fact, full disclosure, when I started Whitebeard Strategies, you guys are the guys I called and went over my site with me. And Kyle, you gave me a lot of great recommendations of things that, as a marketer, I knew, but it's always hard to analyze your own stuff. And
Right.
the value that you provided there, a lot of that being inbound marketing related, was absolutely fantastic. But talk to me a little bit about that business owner that's out there going, okay, so Kyle, what channels do I do? Because Facebook posts don't get indexed, and LinkedIn posts don't seem to get indexed, and tweets don't seem to get indexed individually, while some of the pages do. What social platforms and what other platforms should businesses be posting their content on in addition to the website?
So, and this is something that we are currently working on. So we talked about earlier, like the helpful content update and stuff like that. And
Yep.
It's been huge seismic shifts, and I'm currently rewriting our internal SEO theory and our internal knowledge base, which is going to go more towards entity optimization and entity amplification, which leads into where else are you going to post your stuff, right? So it really depends on if you're doing push or pull marketing. Is this a problem that people know that they have, that they're actively seeking out solutions for, right? Are they problem aware, maybe solution unaware? For something like that, that's somebody who's searching for like, hey, I need a roofer to come fix my shingles. There, you want to be seen on your website. You're going to get that website ranked, but also because people are going to be searching around for quotes, they want to see who's more trustworthy. So you want to make sure you have your Facebook up there, right? Get YouTube, turn your whatever blog post you put up there, just put on YouTube as well. Shoot a quick 30-second video with your iPhone and put it up as a YouTube short. These are things that people are going to be searching for during a customer journey. But it's more something like if you're doing e-commerce and you have, like, say, a t-shirt shop, right? Say you're selling things through print on demand, and it's not really something that somebody might be going and searching for. You got to really get yourself out there, because it's more maybe an impulse buy, right? So there, you want to be seen more on social media. You want to be on TikTok, you want to be on Instagram, maybe YouTube Shorts, and maybe don't worry so much about trying to rank your website, because you're competing against Amazon and there's going to be money wasted, right? So it really is just a matter of knowing your audience, knowing where they hang out, and knowing what other kind of tangentially related products or services they might be interested in, right? Somebody who is into, somebody who is into home improvement, they're going to want to see somebody who's an expert in roofing, because they probably already know a little bit. So you need to be on those different forums, figuring out what people's pain points are, what they're talking about a lot, and either making videos about those or engaging with them, right? If you have a clothing store where you're, making streetwear or something, make sure you're on Instagram, make sure you're on the streetwear subs on Reddit, things like that.
No, that makes a ton of sense. You talked a little bit about entities, and I know from a conversation I had the other day with a client, entities to a lot of business owners is something that they're confused and go, what in the world is entities? And what you talk about optimization of this. Can you explain that in layman's terms to the average entrepreneur or professional that's listening? When we talk entities as they relate to SEO, what does that mean, and how, or if anything, what can be done as a business owner about that?
Yeah, so I use it in two different ways. So there's an entity, which most SEOs know about and what's traditionally been used as an SEO term, and that is any person, place, thing, or concept that Google has an understanding of. And that really, entities are like super keywords. Really, if you're a business owner who is writing their own content, don't focus so much on keywords, focus on entities. And so an example would be like, say if you had a paragraph or a sentence and you took out all the words except for the entities, you would still know what that sentence or paragraph was. So the example I use is, Abraham Lincoln was a tall man who wore a stovetop hat, 16th president of the United States, and made the Gettysburg Address and signed the Emancipation Proclamation. If you take out all the words except for the entities, you have Abraham Lincoln. Or even if you took that out, you have 16th president, tall, stovetop hat, Gettysburg Address, Emancipation Proclamation, president. You're talking about Abraham Lincoln, right? So if you took out all the filler words and only left in those entities, you would still know what that sentence or paragraph is about, right? And that's why entities are important. When I talk to local business owners and I say, hey, we need to work on your entity as a business, I mean, we need to help Google understand who you are, where you're located, and what services you provide. It's helping Google connect the dots between all those things. So we're helping Google understand that, hey, you are located in Los Angeles. You are a roofer. You provide, asphalt roofs. You provide shingles. You provide metal roofs. So you're optimizing your entity, which is your business, for all those services. And that's really the name of the game, is helping Google understand who you are, where you're located, and what services you provide.
Great explanation. Thank you. That candidly makes more sense to me as well, even though I kind of knew what they were about. That makes a lot more sense. And that's a great example of that. One of the things I know we've talked about in the past, Kyle, is AI and how that impacts things. And there's a lot of discussions out there, and as you know, different camps. So I'm looking for an opinion here, but there's a lot of people I know. In fact, I just talked to a prospect this morning, and as you know, I'm a big proponent of using AI as a tool, not necessarily as a replacement, but as a tool. And his opinion was that we can't use that anywhere on my website because Google's going to penalize me, and it doesn't. If they see it's written by AI, my website's trashed. I know there's a lot of people worried about that, and I've got my opinions, but I'm not the expert. From your perspective, how careful do businesses need to be when using AI to help with creating content, and how should they maybe be leveraging that or not if they do want to wade into those waters? Any suggestions there?
Yeah, so there's nothing wrong with AI. In fact, Google recently changed up their guidelines to say that specifically. There's nothing wrong with AI as long as it's written, it doesn't need to be written by humans, but it needs to be written for humans. I think where a lot of business owners I think where a lot of the fear is they saw a couple years ago when a lot of these sites that were first using AI got hit. And I'm here to say, there's nothing wrong with AI as long as you use it as a tool and not as a crutch. If you are just copying and pasting wholesale whatever ChatGPT writes out or whatever Jasper writes out and pasting it to your site, you're going to have a bad time. Reason being is because, one, it's not going to have the entities in there that you want. Two, it's not going to be helpful content because, again, like we said a few minutes ago, all they're doing is taking what's already written on the first page of Google and rewriting it. And then if Google already has that information, why would they put another website saying the same thing on the first page of Google? Also, one thing that we've noticed too is with a lot of these tools, because so many people are using them, some of the output, just raw copy pasted, is not passing plagiarism detectors. Because you figure with so many people writing about the same topic over and over and over again, there's only so much that the AI can do to make things unique, right? When it only has a limited amount of information. So as long as you use it as a tool and not as a crutch, you're going to be okay. One of the ways that we use, and we make heavy use of AI, back when Jasper was called Conversion AI years ago, we were one of the first ones to jump on that. And that's how I grew my former employer 300% a year. We increased leads 66, marketing qualified leads 66% using AI. But we didn't just copy paste. What we did is we used on-page SEO tools to figure out what those keywords entities were, and then we tuned it, right? So we used Phrase, we used Page Optimizer Pro. We took what Jasper was spitting out, and then we tuned it to make it SEO friendly. We added in additional information, made it more in the brand voice, and that worked really well for us. So as long as you're not just copying and pasting, it does not matter as long as you're providing helpful content. That being said, too, because AI only has so much information, there is a little tweaking you have to do to provide that helpful content, to provide that information gain, right? So add in a paragraph on a subtopic that your competitors don't have. Add in some FAQs that your competitors don't have. Adding in that a little amount is really what's going to separate you from the pack in Google's eyes.
That's really good advice. You mentioned plagiarism, and I know it fits into the discussion I had with another client about the fact that for Whitebeard Strategies, that's part of our process when we do leverage AI tools to help with, as you know, we're focused on topical authority. You and I've had that discussion. And so we're creating content and we're creating video scripts and things like that. But one of the things we always do is we have a human take a look at everything before it gets published and review it, adding in things just like you've mentioned. But we also do a plagiarism check. I know we use a tool called Grammarly, which is, in my mind, one of the also early AI tools, because it's really using AI to analyze your text and tell you whether it's punctuated correctly and all that. What are your thoughts on the best tools to be using for people that want to leverage AI but want to make sure they're, you know, sticking within guidelines? What plagiarism tools, or how do you recommend that they check plagiarism on the things that they're creating?
Yeah. So Grammarly is great for that. If you what I found with Grammarly is there is a bit of a learning curve, though. You know, there's a lot of options there. You know, you don't just have like, oh, you know, this is plagiarize, this isn't, but you also have, you know, like, oh, okay, well, this is the passive voice, you need to make it active. You know, this is a little repetitive. So the average person can get pretty overwhelmed.
Very true.
Yeah. So I think that if you have a trained writer on staff, then absolutely Grammarly is the way to go. I do think it's the best tool out there for that kind of stuff. If you just need something quick and dirty, get Copyscape, load it up with $20. It will last you a year. And the premium version, like I said, it's like I just put in $20 a year, right? That's just going to give you a quick and dirty, like, hey, this is, you know, 49% plagiarized. Here are the plagiarized parts, and I'll highlight it for you, so you can go in and rewrite it. It doesn't have the bells and whistles Grammarly has, but that does make it easier to use and more streamlined. So if you're kind of a solopreneur and you don't have the time to completely go over your article with a fine-tooth comb, just use Copyscape. Or if you do have a writer on staff, have them and train them on Grammarly.
Gotcha. I think that's great advice and makes a lot of sense. I will absolutely concur with you on the Grammarly maybe being a bit too much. I know when I load that up and I start looking at an article, there's more red and greens and blues and purples on my screen than I want to see, as it uses different colors to do different things. And candidly, I like passive voice sometimes, so I don't always like
works
the items
sometimes.
telling me to change that. You know,
Yeah.
so I get that. That's really good advice, and I think that's great. So Kyle, as I know, everybody's got a different crystal ball. Mine tends to always be cracked and cloudy. But as you look into the future, the next couple of years, maybe with all the changes that are going on, maybe just even the next 12 months, what types of changes do you see coming down the road as it relates to SEO, and things that business owners should be paying attention to now in order to be ahead of the curve 6 months, a year, 2 years down the road?
Yeah, that's absolutely actually what we're doing. It's one of the reasons why we run tests so much. I can tell you again, like what we're doing is we're completely rewriting how we do SEO. We're completely rewriting our 3R SEO to be less on keywords and entities and stuff like that, and more on, like I said, entity optimization and amplification. So that means not just you know, writing a service page like, hey, you know, I'm a plumber, I provide plumbing services. But you need to show Google that you provide plumbing services in LA. You need to show Google that you provide plumbing services in the different neighborhoods of LA, right? You're providing Google all the information it needs to see you as the topical authority in plumbing and in Los Angeles. And that's showing how you are the optimal result if somebody searches for plumber near me or plumber Los Angeles, right? Again, it's in like what you've been talking about too. It's not just about keywords. We are abandoning that and going more towards topics. We are writing about topics. We are having us and our clients being topical authorities, which means finding out what not keywords people are looking at, but what problems are they trying to solve, and what kind of thought process are they using when they're going to Google to solve these problems, right? So that means, yes, we still do a lot of keyword research. We'll start with maybe 10,000 keywords at a time, and then we'll use a tool like Keyword Insights to get those all sorted into topical hubs, and then start writing about those. And then also, we are focusing now a lot on, like I said before, social media. Everybody needs to be on Reddit. You need to get at least your very own subreddit and do some posting and marketing stuff on there. You can rank your own subreddits, which is what we do. But we are moving away from keywords and moving more towards n-grams and quadgrams. So these are like we do quad, quint, septgrams, like 4, 5, 6, 7 long word phrases that are highly correlated to the topic that we want to write about, right? And that really is going to be the next wave of SEO, is abandoning keywords and going more towards quadgrams, other n-grams and entities, and optimizing for that and making sure that your topic silo is complete, and then getting your clients or your pages ranked that way.
Well, I think that's excellent advice, and certainly very appropriate for those people that are not familiar with Reddit. Can you give us just a short, shouldn't go too in depth, but maybe a 30-second overview of how to leverage and use Reddit?
Yeah, so Reddit's one of the largest used sites in the world. It's basically it's like half social media, half forum, to where people can post links about news articles or just chat about their day. And what's great is it's one of the most highly trusted and quote unquote highly authoritative sites in Google's eyes, because it gets so much traffic. So what you can do is just like you would with social media, you can go in there, you can what's called creating a subreddit, which is your own page, claim your brand name, right? So have reddit.com/Joe's Plumbing. Claim the keywords that you want, reddit.com/Joe's Plumbing in Los Angeles. And by doing that, there's other things you can do to get do follow links. Their do follow links are absolutely killer. It's like a DR95 link or whatever. But posting content on there, treating these posts like blog posts and writing them with entities and with quadgrams, these will get ranked. So all of a sudden you have your GBP ranked in the map pack. You have your website ranked in organic. You have your press release ranked in organic. Then you have your subreddit ranked in organic. All of a sudden you're being seen 4 times in the first page, right? And the average consumer has to see a brand 7 times before they engage with it. So the more spots that you can take, the more your brand gets sticky in their mind, right? On top of that, Google and SEO is a zero-sum game. The more times that you're being seen, the less times your competitors are being seen, right? So one thing you can do is go on Reddit and start writing stuff about like your competitor alternative. You can create a subreddit called Bob's Plumber Los Angeles Alternative, and then write about your company. All of a sudden somebody searches for Bob's Plumbing, they see their subreddit for Bob's Plumbing Alternative, and they're going to click on it because that's something interesting, and they see your brand, and then they get more familiar with your brand. So that's one of like the little ninja ways that you can use Reddit, and these things rank just within a day or two.
I was going to say, what an amazing ninja hack right there to take advantage of something. If you've got nothing else, that's huge value right there. Kyle, that's brilliant. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. So guys, if you've been listening, obviously some great tips here on SEO. I'm going to take a quick change of pace here if I can, Kyle, and want to ask you about the name of our podcast, the 91 Day Success Podcast. And as I mentioned to you up front, we ask everybody, and we love to hear from business owners, their perspectives. If you had to start over and you had 91 days or 3 months, and the goal was to generate or grow a business to generate $10,000 a month in revenue, you only had $1,000 out of your name as far as for the business. You don't have to worry about living expenses and that. But what might you do based on your experience and your knowledge and your passions? What would you do in those first 3 months to build a business like that? And how might you invest that $1,000, or wouldn't you need that based upon your skills?
Yeah. Well, I mean, luckily for me, since I do everything digitally, I don't need to have office space. I don't need to go out and buy a truck, so I can stretch that $1,000 a lot farther. If I all of a sudden came upon some sort of personal catastrophe and I was left with nothing but $1,000 to build a new agency on, I'd spend $10 on a domain name. I'd spend $50 on a WordPress theme, WordPress site, throw up a site. That's less than $100 right there. Then I would buy some leads off Coldlytics and get phone numbers for people that I would want to target and start cold calling. And then I would plow the rest of that money into some sort of a CRM and a project management tool so I can follow up on those leads, and then maybe put a little bit towards buying some retargeting ads. But that's what I would do, is I would just get my branding out there first and then build my fulfillment system.
Great advice. I really appreciate that, and certainly a great use of the funds as well. Well, let's go back to SED for just a moment. If we've got people that are listening, Kyle, and they've listened, and like I did when I first met you, I thought, one of the things I love about Kyle is he doesn't sound like every other SEO guy, because he's talking about end results here. And those end results aren't just how the page is ranking. It's, are the leads coming in, and are they good leads that we can convert and all that. And maybe somebody says, look, this is the type of SEO person I really want to talk to. And by the way, you should. If you're not thinking that, you should be thinking that. Kyle and Peter are brilliant at what they do, and I encourage that. But if they're driving down the road right now, they're listening to the podcast, what's the best way, Kyle, for them to reach out and get in touch with you and Peter?
Yeah, the best way is to go to our website. Go to the sedsociety.com. That's the, and then S is in Sam, E is in Edward, D is in David, society.com. That's our website. Please don't judge us on our web design skills. Again, after I got laid off, I quickly threw that up in a couple hours, like I said, and called Peter, and kind of haven't touched it since. But go there, click on the chat button, and you will either get me or Peter on that chat talking to you. So that really is the best way to get a hold of us.
Fantastic. Well, that makes it easy, and we'll put that up here on the podcast. You'll be able to see that as well. Go do that. And I really want to encourage you, as an agency owner that I am, I've gotten to know Kyle and Peter over the last few months and have been totally impressed with their knowledge and their skill set. And if you're looking for someone to help you in that area, let me encourage you to reach out and have a conversation with them. They don't look at things the way everybody does. And that's, in my mind, a great skill and a great value add, because you want your SEO company being worried about the number of leads you get. And a lot of them aren't. So just my personal plug for you guys that encourage everybody to reach out. So
yeah, thank you.
Well, Kyle, I want to thank you for your time today. You've added so much value, and I'm looking forward to actually getting some of the snippets out of this to promote as well, because just some great value that you've dropped. Again, thank you so much. And if you're listening to the podcast today, you stuck with us, I want to thank you as well. We really value your viewership, your listenership, and want to thank you. And we want to encourage you to implement some of these SEO tips. Catch us on the next episode next week, Friday, and we'll see you all on the other side. Thanks, everybody.